Having a virtual bookkeeping business means you need a secure way to store and share documents with your clients and your team. And in this podcast, I'm going to go over how to use G Suite in your bookkeeping business and some best practices for file structures and naming conventions and all sorts of fun tips. So if you're ready to take control of the files, the digital files in your bookkeeping business, or you're just starting out and this is all kind of new to you, keep on listening. Hey, and welcome to the Ambitious Bookkeeper Podcast. I'm Serena Shoup. I am a CPA and mom of 3, and I'm running a virtual bookkeeping business mostly from my home. You're in the right place if you're a bookkeeper, accountant, or an accounting student, and you know that your purpose is bigger than sitting in a cubicle. If you're ready to learn some actionable tips and strategies to help you start and grow a bookkeeping or accounting business, I hope you stick around. First off, I want to step back and talk about what's important to look for in a cloud file storage system, whether you decide to use G Suite, Google Drive, whatever you want to call it, or something else like Dropbox or SharePoint, or I don't know, any of the multiple options that are out there, and why you need one. No matter what system you go with, it's important to do your due diligence. This goes for every software app you use in your business, really, but even though I've done this for my own firm, you should still take it upon yourself to educate yourself and make the decision for yourself and your firm. It's also worth mentioning having a cyber insurance policy is a must, so please go back and listen to episode 23 titled, "What Kind of Insurance Do Bookkeepers Need?" It's an interview I did with Jacques Walls, who is a business insurance broker who specializes in our industry and some other service industries. So definitely go back and listen to that. It is linked in the show notes. Insurance is non-negotiable. Like, you have to have it. In this day and age, you should probably have cyber insurance. However, you also want to take things upon yourself and be more secure in the way that you do things and don't rely on just the insurance to save your booty. So don't email sensitive stuff back and forth. Email just is not secure enough. Educate yourself, your clients, and your team on what is okay to email versus what is not. I still have clients that try to email me a lot of stuff, and it's an ongoing education opportunity. So how do you know if your file storage system is secure? There are 2 reports that any third-party software provider you work with should be able to provide you. SOC 1, that's SOC number 1, and a SOC 2, SOC 2. A SOC, or a System and Organization Control Report, is a report that certain aspects of an organization have undergone audits for security and controls. So if you came from an audit background, this is not new to you, but if you are a newer bookkeeper, or maybe you've never been exposed to working in a public company, this might be completely foreign to you. So I felt it was important to talk about. Not a very riveting episode, I know, but stay tuned. I'm going to try and keep it short. Each of these reports covers slightly different aspects of the organization, but due to the nature of information we work with as accountants, I would honestly require both reports, and here's why. A SOC 1 audit is focused on internal controls related to financial reporting. So if you store data in your file storage system that flows through to your accounting system or affects financial reporting in any way, the SOC 1 is important. Think anything like spreadsheets that contain information used for revenue calculations or depreciation calculations, especially important if you're working with public companies. And a SOC 2 audit is focused on information and IT security. So this is where the data sharing and secure transfer of files comes into play. What steps has the third-party software organization take to make sure that my client's data is secure is the question that you need to be asking. Think about all of the sensitive information that you have on clients and their vendors, like social security numbers, W-2s, etc. For a really good explanation on the differences of these 2 reports, I'm going to link an article in the show notes so you can dive deeper and nerd out even more. But if you're still with me, let's move on to the file storage of choice for our firm, which is now called Google Workspace, but I'm going to cover pretty much the whole Google suite because we use a good portion of the features of G Suite. And it goes without saying, but G Suite obviously checks the box on the SOC 1 and SOC 2 reports, and you can request them by contacting their support if you are interested in seeing that. If you're an existing customer, or you can contact their sales department if you are not already a customer. Okay, so G Suite for bookkeepers. G Suite is pretty robust, and even though I'm not using it to its full potential, there are a lot more features than what I'm going to cover here. But these are the tools that we use in our firm and we love, and it's an all-in-one solution. Also, side note, we are all on Mac computers. So we don't use most of the Microsoft stuff, although I do have Excel still installed, and I do prefer Excel for more robust spreadsheet calculations. But for what we need it for our clients, we just don't need the whole Microsoft suite. And that's just a choice that we've made. So G Suite is really super compatible for the way that we do business on the cloud. So the first thing that we use the G Suite for is an email domain. So even if you don't yet have a website set up, as long as you know what you want your domain name to be, and maybe you've even purchased it, you can start using an email address with that domain name. So you can be your name at susansbookkeeping.com, right? For an example. The growth of your business really has a lot to do with how you present it and how you position yourself. So if you have a professional email address customized with your domain name, it makes you look more credible. I cannot tell you, and I'm sorry if I'm calling you out or you feel called out, but I cannot tell you how many times I work with what I think is going to be a reputable business, whether local or online, and I go to the bottom of the email or the bottom of their website to contact them or somehow try to contact them, and I see it's like susansbookkeeping@gmail.com or something, if we're going to keep that Susan's Bookkeeping example. So if you're Susan Bookkeeping out there, I'm sorry, I'm using you as an example. I don't even know anyone with that. It was just a name that popped into my head. But what I'm getting at is, if you want to set yourself apart and you are trying to succeed and you have envisioned succeeding in this business, purchasing a domain name and paying the $6 a month for basic G Suite to be able to have a legit email at yourname.com, then that's just going to help you achieve what you want and get you there faster, in my opinion. So that's one thing that you must budget for straight from the beginning. Like, just be professional, do the domain name. Because here's the flip side to this, and I'm going off on a tangent right here, but the flip side is, it's like, if you're afraid to spend $6 a month, or say $25 a month to hold a website domain and your email, your G Suite, and a couple other things, maybe that's all you have to do. $25 when you're first setting up. If you're afraid to spend $25 to look like a legit business, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So just consider it an investment. And if you want people to trust you, this is a great way to start. Okay, let's move on. The other thing that we use G Suite for is a productivity suite. So this includes Google Docs, Google Sheets, Slides, and some other fancy things, but those are the main tools that we use. So Google Sheets and Google Docs we use heavily in our business. Google Sheets are basically an Excel spreadsheet, but it's on the cloud and you can share it. This is how we actually send our monthly suspense report to our clients. So we call it suspense. If you're in QuickBooks Online, the typical account is Ask My Accountant. I've heard some bookkeepers call it the Ask Report. So basically a list of transactions that you need more information from the client on. We pop these into the same Google Sheet every month. We just do a new tab and we send it off to our clients to update, and we don't have to worry about different versions floating around, saving it, making a copy, all that good stuff. It's the same link every time. They know where to find it. We send it to them every month, but it's just easy. Okay. Surveys and websites. So you can also get access to a form builder and a website builder in case you don't have a website up yet. You can do this in G Suite. And I could see the potential of creating a simple website and an intake form on here for new clients until you get something else up. We use the forms for gathering information from our students, like during our cohorts of the Bookkeeping Business Accelerator. It used to be called Google Drive. Now it's called Google Workspace. But the basic plan comes with a lot of storage. We do hot seat calls, and I ask the students to submit a hot seat request before each call if they want to get vulnerable and ask their question in front of the group and have me coach them. Okay, and then the other one, which mainly is what this podcast was supposed to be about, was file storage. The business plan gives you unlimited storage. You can share folders with others in your organization and your clients. And I'm going to get into exactly how we use this in just a moment. Initially, we were on like the basic plan of Google Drive. So it's made things a lot easier. That does come with a price. But like I said, we ran it on the basic version for like 5 years. And it was fine. Okay. And then you can use it for e-meetings. So like web meetings that we were grandfathered in on. And we just recently upgraded to Business Workspace, where we have like special shared folders and can provision access among the team based on the shared folders, video conferences, and you can get around having to pay extra for Zoom if you do everything in your Google Meets. Like I said, this is not an exhaustive list of what G Suite provides. For more information on everything that it includes and pricing, I have dropped my affiliate link into the show notes. And just as a side note, little asterisk here, I only affiliate products that I use and I love. And using an affiliate link from a creator that you follow, like me, because you're listening to this, is a really great way to show your appreciation for us. So maybe you're not ready yet, but when you are ready to enroll into something like G Suite or other softwares or programs that I talk about, by all means, shoot me a message, ask me if I have a link. There's some things that I don't have links for, and I'll just say, I don't have a link, but thank you for asking. So when you get to this point, just shoot me a message, come back to these show notes, and my affiliate link will be here. We'll be right back after we hear a word from our sponsor. Have you ever exported a QuickBooks Online report to a Google Sheet or Excel? Spent time customizing the sheet, inviting others to collaborate, and then discovering that the QuickBooks Online data has changed, forcing you to restart the whole entire process over again? LiveFlow has solved the problem. LiveFlow connects QuickBooks Online to Google Sheets and Excel, allowing you to save sheets that automatically update with the most recent QuickBooks data. There's even a Xero integration coming soon. You know, I can't wait for that. Accountants and bookkeepers are using LiveFlow today to create automatically updated budget versus actual and any other custom reports. LiveFlow allows you to position yourself as an advisory partner by saving you hours of repetitive work. Fewer hours spent in spreadsheets give you more time to build deep relationships, offer quick insights, and a high-value offering. What I love about LiveFlow is the speed and depth of insight and how it connects back to QuickBooks Online in real time. The powerful drill down feature lets me investigate any summary number in my Google Sheet, offering a full breakdown of all QuickBooks transactions involved. And the best part is that it's all done in my Google Sheet. LiveFlow opens the QuickBooks transaction detail report in real time. So instead of going into QuickBooks every time, you can see up-to-date underlying transactions together with your client right in Google Sheets. I'd highly recommend taking a look at LiveFlow's free template library created with bookkeepers and accountants from across the US. Make a copy of any template and it's yours forever for free. To learn more about using LiveFlow and how you can save 20% off your first 3 months, go to the show notes and check the link. Claim your spot with the promo code AMBITION. You can also head to liveflow.io/partnerships/ambition. Now let's get back to today's episode. All right, moving on, Google Workspace for bookkeepers. So I want you to be able to structure your files, whether you use Google Drive or not, this applies, and follow best practices in your bookkeeping business. So my number one tip is when you're working on the cloud, sometimes it's better to download the app, the desktop app, to your computer for some things because the functionality is different, it's better, whatever. There is a desktop app of Google Drive that will make it easier to upload files from your computer, download files, save things. It pops in just right to your, if you're on Mac, it's Finder. You can connect it to your Finder. In Windows, it's the file.
We'll be back after a quick break.
This episode of the Ambitious Bookkeeper Podcast is sponsored by my brand new free training, The Ultimate Guide to Creating a Profitable Bookkeeping Business. In just 1 hour, you will learn 3 keys to creating and launching a profitable bookkeeping business. We will map out your path to creating a bookkeeping or accounting business that keeps you in control of your time, priorities, and expertise. From someone who built a 6-figure firm on part-time hours. That's right, you can stay in control of your time, keep family as your priority, and serve your clients well. It just takes a little strategy up front, and I'm going to help you with that during this free training. So head over to the show notes to sign up now for the next training and find out how you can choose the work you do, kick imposter syndrome to the curb, use tech to be super efficient, which all leads to a profitable business. Just head on over to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/training, and I will see you there. I don't even remember now. I've only been on a Mac for like a year and I don't remember what it's called, but I'm sure someone will let me know. The little file thing where you find your files, okay? So I would highly recommend doing that to get the most out of being able to do this instead of accessing it from a web browser. Number 2, I would stick to a file structure. So within my Google Drive, I have the structure set up of whether if you're just working on the basic version where all you have is quote unquote my drive, which is like a personal drive, or you're in a shared drive. Like I said, we recently upgraded to the Google Workspace Business Edition. But before that, the main folder was called My Drive. And then I had a subfolder called Clients, and then subfolders within that folder for each client name. The way that I'm going to get pretty granular here. So if you want to read this, if you're more of like a visual person and need to see this laid out, you can actually head over to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/blog/G Suite and read basically this podcast, but I kind of outline my whole file structure on that blog. So in the client subfolders, I have a subfolder for each client. I use the legal business name and the DBA if they have one, so that no matter what you search or what you know the client as, it will come up. The search function in Google Drive is amazing, so that's how we do that. And we also use the client initials before each of the folders. And we do that across all of our systems. We use the same initials to identify the client stuff. So we do that in our Sonnet projects and the Google folders, all over the place. Okay, and then in each client file, you have multiple subfolders again. You have a permanent file. So in this folder, you will keep the incorporation documents, LLC filings, EIN letters from the IRS, maybe state tax ID letters, anything that you are going to need throughout the engagement with the client that pretty much never changes. You want to keep that in a separate permanent file. And this is just a naming that I picked up when I worked at a CPA firm. We always had a permanent file on all of our clients. So that's separate from anything that's like just happening regular course of business. It's all the, initial establishing documents. And if you need to know what you should be requesting, I do have a freebie for download. It's my onboarding email templates. And in those templates, I give a checklist to send to your clients for documents that you'll need. I will also link that in the show notes. Okay. The second folder that you need in each client file is going to be your client shared folder. So this is a folder that you're going to share with your client. So this will be shared externally, but only with your client. So you can just add their email address to grant them access to it. I like to create another folder with a short version of the client's name. So this client shared folder is going to be client name _shared at the end. And like I said, this is the folder I actually share with the client for them to drop files in if they need to, and where I store the shared financial reports and other sensitive documents with them instead of emailing. So this is also where we keep that monthly ask report and the financials. And if we have meeting recordings, they go in there. And we might have more subfolders in the shared folder depending on how much we're sharing with the client. However, You do not share all of your work papers with the client. So your work papers are your internal documents that you use to complete month end or to complete the work, unless you and the client have worked out an agreement where they get copies of everything that you do. I wouldn't suggest doing that. So the only stuff that goes in the shared folder is stuff they're sending to you and stuff that you need to send to them that's sensitive, like their financial statements or anything like that. 1099s at year end, all that good stuff. Then in the regular client folder, so far we have the permanent file, the client shared file that goes with them, and then you start having more folders depending on the level of work you're doing with the client. So I always have a client for every year, and then within that folder there's each month for all the work papers associated with that period end. So my preferred naming convention on dated folders is the full year, so 4 digits of the year. So if we're in 2022, it would be 2022 dash the month number. So what are we in? July. So this month's folder would be 2022-07. And I keep a file for each year and month of accounting we do for the client. And when a full year is completed, I create the years folder and move it all over. So there's less clicks as you're working throughout the year. You just keep all of the monthly folders out there loose, kind of. And then at the end of the year, we archive them into a folder called just 2022. And we just do the same thing every month and every year. So anything you use to work on your clients, backup documentation, bank reconciliation reports, amortization schedules, all of that goes in here. Those are your work papers, and those you are not required to give to the client. Okay, your next folder. We've talked about permanent file, your client shared file, monthly accounting files, the month-end files, and now anything else that you might work on with the client. So for us, we do sales tax with our clients. So we have a sales tax folder. So instead of burying all the sales tax within each monthly folder, I like to have those in a separate folder so that I can just pull up the whole sales tax folder and see exactly, everything that we filed. For me, it's easier to see visually. We also do the same thing with bank statements. I like to see the bank statements all in a separate folder. What else do we do that way? Oh, payroll is one of them. We do that as a separate folder as well. If you're doing added services to the engagement, you'll likely want to have a separate folder for that. So some other examples are planning. So if you're providing any type of tax planning, goal setting, or budgeting services for your client, those would get their own folder. And anything, like I said, that doesn't fall into those categories usually gets left out loose in the client folder until we have a group of things that deserve its own folder. So that's pretty much it on the folders. Now, let's recap the folders. So you have your main clients, and then you have a folder for each client. And within each client folder, you'll have a permanent file, a share file, and then your monthly accounting folders at minimum. And then depending on the services, you might have multiple other types of folders like sales tax or payroll, bill pay, things like that. All right, number 3 on my tips for getting the most out of your digital file storage. Stick to a file naming convention. So like I talked about, I'm pretty much a stickler on how I date and name my files. However you decide to name files, just stay consistent. I will admit I'm not always the best at this, but in general, I do use the following conventions. So year-month, and then company initials, so the initials that we use for the client name. So using our example from before, Susan's Bookkeeping, if that was 2 different words, I would say the company initials or the client initials would be SB. And then whatever the type of file it is, we name it. And then sometimes we might have an underscore at the end and the date that the file was actually created. So this is important when you're trying to control versions. So you could do like V1, V2, or you could actually have the date of when you've created that file. So for example, and this is way easier if you go and just read the blog, but it would be 2022-07 SB financial statements, and then another underscore for the date that it was created. So the date you actually ran the report. So if you're doing July month end, you're probably actually running the reports in August. So it would be dated August at the very end. Like I said, I only use the date at the end of files where version control is important, or for contracts, I usually date those for the date the contract is actually signed. All right. Number 4, to get the most out of your pretty much any software you use, enable 2-factor authentication. This goes for all apps, not just G Suite. Remember that we are entrusted with sensitive data and information. Safeguard that. All right. So in summary, no matter which file storage system or other software you use, remember these key points. Select a secure file sharing system to share sensitive data with your clients. Do not email this stuff. Number 2, the company should be able to provide you with a SOC 1 and a SOC 2 audit report. Do your due diligence in your software provider selections. And number 3, invest in cyber liability insurance for your business. Go back to episode 23. Number 4, safeguard your client's data and information as if it were your own or better. All right, that's it for this week's episode. If you found this helpful, entertaining, or informational, I know today was not that entertaining. I was just trying to sprinkle in some fun there. Please take a screenshot, share your ahas or your takeaways, tag me at Ambitious Bookkeeper on Instagram. And I would love it, honestly, if you left me a review on the podcast, probably even more than if you used an affiliate link of mine, to be honest. I just want to make sure that more amazing ambitious bookkeepers just like you are finding this podcast. So share it with a friend you know in the industry, or better yet, write a review and share it with a friend, and I will be forever grateful. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you to everyone who helps make this podcast possible. Content and interviews are produced by me, Serena Shoup. Our intro and outro music is written and performed by my brother, Ian Gilliam. Editing is also by Ian using his awesome sound engineering skills along with Descript software. Hosting and publishing is by Buzzsprout, and you can check out the show notes for links to all of these amazing resources and resources mentioned in the episode.
Embrace ambition.